Brazilian football legend Pele, arguably the greatest player ever, has died at the age of 82, his agent has confirmed. The former Santos FC star had been at the Albert Einstein Israelite Hospital in Sao Paulo since November 29. A medical report just before Christmas showed that he needed care for cardiac and renal dysfunction, having been battling colon cancer since September 2021. Pele, originally named Edson Arantes do Nascimento, began playing for Santos at the age of 15, and the Brazilian national team a year later, bursting onto the world football scene as a 17-year-old in the 1958 World Cup. During his international career, he won 3 World Cups in 1958, 1962, and 1970, the only player to achieve this. His role in Brazil's third victory, in Mexico in 1970, has gone down in football folklore, as he played a key role in arguably the sport's greatest ever international team. His glittering 20-year career from 1957 to 1970 saw him score 757 goals in 831 games, although Santos claim his tally was closer to 1,000. Pele is a familiar presence for any boy who has ever chased the football through the streets of Brazil. Even for someone like me, born nearly 30 years after his finest hour, his name was always in the air. If you were a good player, they'd say, "Oh, so you think you're Pele?" And if you were not, Pele was the irony. This kid is terrible and thinks he has the ability of Pele. Brazilian football creates idols. Ronaldo, Romario, and Neymar were the closest comparisons of late, but Pele would always be the greatest. Quite simply, he was the king. He still is. He came to transcend football because Pele showed it was possible to overcome difficulties and conquer the world when racism was rife, closing down opportunities all over society. If Europeans thought they would always be the best in the sport they created, here was a black kid from Três Coracoes, in the south of Minas Gerais, proving otherwise as he led Brazil to their first World Cup, in Sweden in 1958, age 17. No other footballer has won the greatest of all prizes 3 times. Perhaps they never will. Think of Argentina and the impact of Diego Maradona in 1986, or Lionel Messi this year, and multiply it by 3. He took Brazil to the top and inspired others to follow. Thanks to his talent and dedication, he bestowed a new status upon the country. Ever since 1970, we have been heralded for our excellence in the sport, and so much of it is down to him. Pele's death will end a chapter of Brazilian history. None of the players who came after him, and were compared to him, were able to achieve anything like he did. The bar was set too high. It may seem surprising that the only stadium in Brazil paying homage to him is far from Santos, where he made his name, but he visited to play in the inaugural game in 1970, soon after becoming world champion for the 3rd time in Mexico. In the last few days, Santos changed the club badge, adding a golden crown to represent the king between the 2 gold stars, acknowledging the Intercontinental Cup titles won in his heyday, in 1962 and 1963. In Alagoas, they have been toying with the idea of changing the name of Rei Pele to the Rainha Marta, in honor of Marta, the star of women's football in Brazil, because she was born in the state. Perhaps an outpouring of emotion over Pele will influence that decision. Brazil has followed reports about his health avidly. It has been a major part of the news, with journalists trying to tread carefully between granting privacy and giving updates on his condition. There has been no shortage of exaggerated rumors of his demise. In recent years, Pele has become mostly a social media presence, sending messages to congratulate Neymar, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, or Kylian Mbappe on their achievements. He posted to Vinicius Jr. to offer support against racism, and to Argentina on winning the World Cup. His words always carried gravitas. He worked as a TV pundit when Brazil won their 4th world title, on penalties in the USA in 1994. There's a famous clip of Globo's commentator Galvão Bueno hugging Pele and screaming in celebration. He used to travel the world on business, and as a football ambassador, and spent time in the US, until his health took a turn for the worse in 2018. Since then, he lived a quiet and private life at his home in Guarujá, Sao Paulo. The memories of Pele as a player are fading, but the legend lives on. For my generation, Messi is the icon of football. For my father's, it was Maradona. Pele was the icon of my grandfather's generation, and yet if someone mentions the brilliance of Maradona or Messi, there will be someone else, quick as a flash, who mentions Pele, and explains how this is not up for debate in Brazil. That is because here, Pele is and will always be the greatest. He will always wear the number 10 for those who choose the greatest ever Brazil team. I hope that doesn't change. Pele is part of my imagination, my life, and my nationality. Thank you, King.